Наш следующий докладчик Саймон Подд, коммерческий директор компании Flurry. Саймон рассказывает о тех горизонтах, которых может достичь мобильный рынок, о миллиардах пользователей, которые есть на этом рынке. Please, Simon, go ahead.
Hello guys, thank you for that. Really good to be here this afternoon. I'm not sure what you actually said, Tapak, but I'm sure you introduced me as Sаймон Подд, the commercial director from Flurry. So over the course of the next 20-25 minutes or so, I hope to be able to provide you with the latest data and insights from Flurry to give you an idea of, pretty much to ask you a question, how big can the mobile gaming market get? I'm conscious that many of you have probably been to other mobile events previously, so we're often asked to speak at like Society Rocks or Casual Connect in Kiev. So I do hope you learned something new from this presentation. I often feel that we are preaching to the converted. All of us here are working within the mobile market, but I hope you use a lot of our data to give you an understanding of how big the market opportunity is for us, and also use some of the data in order to sort of plan for your marketing budgets, as it were, as well. So what I've done is I've included a whole set of new data as well to give you an indication of how people use tablets and smartphones differently, which I think should be some interesting data for you to compare usage behaviour between those two different smart devices. So before I go on, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of Flurry. It might be worthwhile just taking a minute or 60 seconds or so just to give you an update on Flurry, what we do for those of you who don't actually know. So Flurry Analytics is one of the leading mobile applications analytics business. We're in a very fortunate position from here. You can see that we track around about 720 million devices on a global basis. We work with 85,000 apps developers across 220,000 different apps. We track something like 2.1 billion app sessions every day. No one, bar Facebook, has access to as much data as Flurry. In fact, we track 8 times more data than Twitter. Flurry Analytics is a free tool. It will always be free. It's a tool that allows developers to understand what their consumers are actually doing within their apps. So we provide metrics such as new users, active users, sessions in terms of length, frequency, retention rates. We allow you to segment your audience by language, by market, by age, by gender, by device, etc. And as I said, it pretty much allows you to understand what your best users look like. So therefore you can plan ahead accordingly. You can make your updates depending on how people are actually using your app today, now. As I said, Flurry is free, it'll always be free. We make our money from advertising. So we have an ad network that's powered by that data, and that enables us to drive installs, re-engagement, video views, etc. And just last month we delivered over 100 million paid conversions. So Flurry's big on data, big on analytics, so don't be surprised if you see a lot of charts here. So, how big is this market going to get for us? Well, we believe, and we don't want to underestimate the situation here, but we think we're part of the fastest growing consumer content revolution of our lifetime. We can see here that the rate of adoption for iOS and Android devices is quicker than any other form of technology we've seen before. So it's 10 times quicker than the PC revolution of the 80s, twice as quick as that of the internet boom of the 90s, and 3 times faster than that of the current social networking phenomenon. So, it's a rapidly growing market here, but really we're still only at the beginning. Oh, you can't really see that because the sofa's in the way, which might actually happen for a lot of my slides now, thinking about it. So what we can see here is the growth of the number of apps available in both the Apple Store and Google Play. Down here, from 2009, we had around about 28,000 apps available, up to present day, where we're currently seeing 600,000 apps available in both Google Play and the App Store. So more and more people are making more and more apps. but the one problem here, or one thing to discuss probably going forward, is the whole issue of discovery. You know, how do you get your app noticed when there are so many available? So when someone buys a smart device, one of the first things they do is they will actually download an app. So what we've seen from our research here is that because we're tracking pretty much every device, every smart device in the world, at least one app in every, there's at least one app that Flurry is tracking with our SDK in pretty much every smart device in the world. We can then see where we've come from and actually the amount of upside that we still have to deliver. So back in 2009, there were 23 million active smart devices in the world. As of today, well, as of August, it said 660 million. As of today, there's around about 720 million smart devices that we believe are active in the world. Moving forward, 9 months, 2013, we believe there's going to be around about 1.1 billion smart devices active. So it just goes, you can just see the rate of growth in terms of the amount of tablets and smartphones are actually being bought and used currently. But we're really sort of still at the start of this journey that we're on. So if we believe in 9 months' time there's going to be 1.1 billion smart devices, you could actually say on a conservative basis that the amount of people that could buy a smart device in the future is 2 billion, because 2 billion, according to the International Monetary Fund, is the amount of 25 to 54-year-old, 64-year-old affluent adults in the world today. So 2 billion is a pretty conservative estimate of how many smart devices could actually be sold. If you want to be aggressive, a bit more optimistic, then we could say that the addressable market, i.e. the size of the opportunity, is around about 5 billion, because 5 billion is the number of the mobile device owners in the world today. So smartphones, they seem to be dropping in prices, especially amongst Android. And with tablets, you're seeing little replacement. They are replacing PCs, but people are tending to have a tablet and a smartphone. And of course, we've got connected TVs coming soon as well. So not only the growth in smart devices is going to grow hugely, then obviously the impact is that the number of apps that are going to enter the market are going to substantially increase as well. So, you know, we think that we're in a very, very good position today for people who are only just starting out in mobile games and mobile apps. Then you haven't missed the boat at all. There's still plenty of upside. Of course, we do have to realise and recognise that there are challenges, that the market has become more sophisticated. There are issues around sort of discovery, acquisition costs are getting higher, etc. So, you know, it's not the sort of, I'm just going to make an app and we're just going to launch it. You know, those days have gone. We believe that you should be using analytics, whether it be Flurry or any other business intelligence system that you have, in order to understand what your best users look like. You have to use analytics in order to understand what people are doing within your apps. Otherwise, how can you grow a business? But as we can see from here, there's plenty of upside. So when people buy a smart device, where are they currently buying them? Unsurprisingly, US and China lead the way. When it comes to China, what we've seen is over the last 12 months from, I think this was going back from July, back a year, we saw around about 100 million smart devices being activated in China compared to 30 million in the US over that same period. So at this rate of growth, we'd expect to see China's total number of devices outnumber that of the US by this December. But which are the fastest growing markets? Well, unsurprisingly, the BRIC countries, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, and China are all included in here. You can see Russia there with a growth of 189% year on year. So it just goes to show that the smart device market is no longer just an early adopter market. You know, it's a real global addressable market that's moved way beyond just North America and Western Europe now. I'm going to show you this graph first because I think it makes more sense, and I'll go back. So Flurry, so we know how many smart devices there are. We make a guess at how many smart devices we think they're going to be in the future. And as I said, when someone buys a smart device, one of the first things they do is download an app. And that app could either be from Google Play, it can be from the App Store, it can be a RIM, BlackBerry app, or it can be a Microsoft or Windows app. So what we track at Flurry is new projects. So because I said we have an SDK that is specific to each operating system, we can track when developers actually start a new project. And over the course of this period, from Q2 2011 to Q2 2012, we saw a total growth in new project starts within the Flurry dev portal of 50%. And what we can essentially see is that 7 out of those 10 are going to be Apple project starts. I mean, there's a whole another conversation we could have, but obviously up until now it's been a lot easier to monetize an iOS app than it has been to monetize an Android app. But there is a race. There is a third player that is going to be looking to secure sort of the greater share and challenge Android going forward. And by the looks of it, we think that's going to be Windows and Microsoft. So bearing in mind there's been an increase of 50% of all projects within the Flurry dev portal over the last 12 months. There's actually been a 600% increase by Microsoft and Windows, albeit from a low base of 1%. But as you'll see, Microsoft has increased from 1% to 6%, whereas BlackBerry has maintained a 1% share of new project starts. So, and this doesn't even take into account the fact of the recent launch of the Surface, etc. So we think that Microsoft is going to start to become the third player in the operating system market. So you guys have to decide, who you're going to start developing for. So when people download apps, how long are they actually spending within apps? So from this study here, this is an early Flurry study where we looked at the impact of time spent within apps compared to that of the mobile web and the desktop web. So if you look at the dark blue charts, then you can see that the time spent in apps is increasing. So to date, people are spending over 90 minutes, over an hour and a half in apps every day, compared to, say, the light blue charts, which is looking at the sort of desktop and the mobile web. At best, that is stagnant. So this is an older study. Since this study, we are now tracking 2.1 billion app sessions a day compared to 800 million when we did this study. So we expect that people are spending even longer than 94 minutes in apps now. So the opportunity for the apps market is huge. People are spending more and more time within apps. This isn't actually one of our numbers, this is a ComScore number. So when we come to look at how much time people spend within smartphones, you can see that people are accessing apps 81% of the time compared to less than 20 through the mobile browser. So when people are going online, they're doing it through apps, they're not doing it through the web browser. And this is the new piece of work that we wanted to show you guys. So this is a study where Flurry looked at 6 billion app sessions from 500 million devices, and we cross-referenced it with 30 million consumers who have provided us with permission to share their demographic data. So it's a pretty big sample size. So it's 6 billion app sessions, 500 million devices, 30 million users who are sharing age and gender data with us. So what we wanted to do here was look at how people are using smartphones differently to that of tablets. Because when it comes to you guys designing a game, there's going to be intrinsic differences between these two users. So what we've done here is we've had a look at usage by hour, comparing smartphones with tablets, as I've said, and the green line is tablets, blue line is smartphones. Running along the bottom, for those looking at the charts either side, you'll see the time of day. Now, traditionally, when it comes to users consuming content, there's always this traditional peak around sort of the TV viewing hours between like 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. What we see with smartphones is that there's much less of a peak, that actually people seem to use them consistently throughout the day. Whereas with tablets, there is this peak. There is this peak around the sort of the evening TV viewing experience. So from this, we can sort of start to gather that tablets are being used to either support and add to your TV viewing experience. So as you're watching TV, you might, and it's a particularly good show, or it's a show that you're interested in, like X Factor or a Champions League football match, or like what we would call like a big ticket event. So you can share that moment with your friends, and you can use your tablets to sort of talk about the show whilst you're actually watching it. Conversely, if the content isn't holding your attention, you would then use your tablet to look for alternative entertainment opportunities. So you'd actually be playing a game in front of the TV as opposed to watching it. So here we had a look at usage in terms of engagement time. So unsurprisingly, people use smartphones more frequently, but for less time. So you can see that when it comes to minutes, people are spending 4.1 minutes per session in a smartphone, but 8.2 minutes in a session for a tablet. So when we come on to the next chart, you see why this sort of makes sense. In fact, I'll go on to it now, then I'll come back. So what people are doing within smartphones, these are the app categories of how people are actually using their smartphones, smart devices. What are they doing when they're picking up a smart device? The biggest chunk, the biggest category is games by far. But what you see on the right-hand side is for tablets, is that tablets are very much an entertainment proposition. People are using tablets as a multimedia machine. They're happy to pick it up, they're happy to consume content, they're happy to look at news apps, they're happy to be entertained, and they're happy to spend time within games. Conversely, if you look at the left-hand side and you look at smartphones, you can see that there's less time spent in games, albeit still the biggest category, but people are spending time in social networks and they're spending time within utility apps. So people are using smartphones very much around sort of task based. You know, they're checking into their social network. They might be carrying out tasks with utility apps, whereas with tablets, you're very much more in an entertainment frame of mind. You're using it to either play a game or to be entertained. So when it comes to designing your apps for different tablets, this is the type of information that's sort of crucial for you, because you're going to be sort of reaching two distinct different audiences. And it is a reflection that people are using tablets as a multimedia machine, and it's the biggest indication yet of how we think that the connected TV market is going to look. So when people start to get online in mass numbers just through their TV, this is how people are going to be using, we think this is the best indication of how people are actually going to be using connected TVs. So I'll go back a couple of slides. So when it comes to looking at age, 75% of users of a smartphone are aged 34 and under, whereas 2/3 of tablet users are older than 25, which means that when it comes to an average number, you've got tablets at 34 and a smartphone user is 30. So they are two distinct different groups here. When it comes to looking at age and gender, we see that with smartphones, there's much more of a male bias, but when it comes to tablets, it's very, very even. And this is interesting because predominantly, when it comes to new technology, normally men look to adopt new technology quicker. That's just sort of what we've seen to date. However, with tablets, that's clearly not the case. So it's a very good indication that tablets are very much going to be accepted as a mass market medium going forward. So I think that's a really, really interesting stat to see that men and women using tablets are the same compared to smartphones. So we've had a look at sort of what people are actually doing within their categories and within their apps. So I hope you found that section useful, just to give you an indication of sort of different types of consumer behaviour within smartphones compared to tablets. And what I wanted to end on is looking at some of the data again that we've pulled from Flurry to give you an indication of sort of some of the top successful game types. So much like the movie studios will have different categories, so they'll have like your rom-coms or your horror movies or your thrillers, etc. Because we're tracking 220,000 apps, we're in a very privileged position, so we can start to see sort of different buckets of apps. So we've started to cluster different apps into these 6 groups here. I won't go through them all, but it will just give you an indication of how we think some of these are actually sort of brought to market and what's required to do so. So if we look at endless pastime, you know, here, examples could be Fruit Ninja or Angry Birds. It's very much sort of mass market appeal. There's a pretty broad and even age distribution. Okay, it's more men than women. What you'll see here is that the gameplay for these types of games is sort of often sort of has original IP. It tends to be cute. There's infinite replay value, for a game like this, when it comes to sort of daily active users, if you have a million daily active users, you could expect to make about $500,000 a month. It may cost something like $100,000 to $400,000 to make a game like this. If you look at social role-playing games, such as Crime City or Original Gangsters, you start to see that this game appeals more to men than women. Tends to be sort of 13 to 34 in terms of age distribution. They very much sort of player versus player gameplay, and what you'll see here is that it's very much mission-based, which is going to appeal to sort of the men in the audience. And again, on a daily active user base of around about 150,000, you could expect to achieve around about 600,000 in monthly revenue at a cost of anywhere between $100,000 to $400,000. Now that's the cost from sort of production to market. And then lastly, if we look at gamers games, which are really sort of your top end games, your premium games, they're not freemium, they tend to be premium, very much dominated by a male user base. And from what we can see here is that on a daily active user base of around about 50,000, there's revenues to be had there of 400,000 against the cost of 100,000 to 400,000. So we just used Flurry's data to put certain games into different buckets to give you an indication of how you can use analytics to understand the market that you're operating in, the category that you're operating in, the type of game, the type of user that you want to appeal to, because it's all about how you use the data, how you use your own business intelligence systems to plan ahead, because without that you're just chancing it, you're just launching an app and just hoping for the best. So, you know, I would urge you to use any analytics platform that you have to understand what makes the best game for you, so you can create the most engaged users. I think I'm actually on time, so I'll probably finish here. I just wanted to provide you with an idea of what we do. I did that at the start. So, as I said, we offer an analytics service. We are an ad network as well. I do hope you found the session useful. I would urge you to look at the Flurry blog. We do have lots of data, lots of studies that come up on a sort of every other week. So we tend to be the benchmark for the mobile gaming market as well. So we've got lots of juicy data that we can share with you. So thank you very much.
Пожалуйста, у кого есть вопросы, подскажу.
Thank you, Simon. It was actually very enlightening. Can you please publicly share your presentation, because everyone wants to hear it?
Of course. Yeah. I'm sure you'll put it on the website. It'll be made available on the website. Otherwise, please email me at simon.pod@flurry.com and I'll send you a copy.
Cheers, cool. Thank you.
That was an easy one.
Пожалуйста, у кого есть вопросы, можно задавать на русском, а вопрос будет переведен. Пишу.
Hi, do you have any comments about the recent news about the partnership with Activision on publishing with Flurry?
Do I have any comments?
Something, Jeff. Pretty good place to add something, I guess.
Yeah, well, we are looking for around about... Can you hear me? We've just launched our first game within that partnership, so we're only looking for around about 4 or 5 different apps that are going to be published under the Activision umbrella. So Flurry will supply analytics as a condition of use. The app developer has to put our monetization tools into that app. So the developer maintains IP. We're just out there to support from a marketing and analytics perspective, and then you've got the ability to be published by Activision, which I imagine adds quite a lot of kudos, and it allows us to cut through this busy marketplace. So it's not something I deal with specifically. There's a small team in San Francisco that works closely with Activision, but that's the nuts and bolts of the deal.
Еще вопрос?
Am I right? Is it AppSpot which gives CPM revenue for developers?
Yes.
Flurry AppSpot.
Yeah, AppSpot is our.
And it's only from developer side. Is it so? As an advertiser, can I go there and buy the traffic? Because my marketing guys said you cannot buy from Flurry because they work with huge brands.
So
did you get it? You work with AppSpot only from developers.
So the developers put our AppSpot SDK into their apps, which means that they then put ad places within their apps. We, as an ad network, can then sell you the opportunity to drive a download to another app, or you could actually drive through to a Facebook mobile page or a mobile web page. So it could be on CPC, CPM, video. It doesn't just have to be a developer that is advertising. We can advertise Procter & Gamble, Ford, whatever. I'm not sure if I've answered your. I'm not sure if I've understood your question.
As an advertiser, can I just buy traffic from AppSpot?
You can just buy traffic through us. Yes, we have an ad network called App Circle, which is the.
It works with AppSpot also.
AppSpot is the monetization platform.
Yeah,
App Circle is the ad network.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool.
Hi again. So could you tell if you work with Google and Apple team personally, and if they provide you with any data regarding their markets, and Facebook as well?
Right. So I don't know, but in terms of Flurry, we're in constant conversations with Apple. Obviously, they're hugely important to the success of Flurry in terms of an analytics tool and as an ad network as well. So we work very closely with those guys. We do speak to Facebook, we do speak to Twitter, we do speak to everyone within this sphere. We're not in a position to share any data from those, and it's not something I can sort of comment on now really, but there are always conversations going on with a view to improving our data that we're collecting and how we take that to market.
Okay, thanks.
Last question.
Hi. So you're providing traffic for mobile apps, yeah? And the question is, what about Russia? I mean, how many downloads can you provide for me in Russia from Russian users?
It's quite a specific question, that one. Russia's not our biggest territory. Clearly, over 50% of our traffic comes in the US, then China, then Western Europe. I think with Russia, from experience, we're only looking at the sort of the low hundreds in terms of how many downloads, probably even around about the 100 mark for installs in Russia on a daily basis. But it will grow, because you've seen from the charts, the amount of smart devices, the amount of apps that have been downloaded, it will get bigger and bigger.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Pleasure. Thank you.